of hits close to home. And it, as working on the modifieds and on a chassis and on a car, it really emphasizes safety from being part of that. So I got the call, ended up showing up at the racetrack with all intention of just hanging out on a tow truck all night with Justin Dittman.
That changed quick, didn't it?
And show up at the track. Next thing you know, I'm not on the blue tow truck. I'm in one of the red trucks. Then next thing you know, we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off.
Right.
I mean, and I think Jeremy Means said it best. There's good nights, there's bad nights,
and
there's full moon nights, and then there was that night.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrible.
It was one that I hope we don't repeat anytime soon.
Absolutely not. Now, and I'll ask this to the Halls when we get them on the air. One thing I don't know if you're even allowed to answer this question, and if you can't, I know you have rules on the safety team that deal with legal issues, what you guys can and can't talk about for all legal purposes. I get it, and I know I don't expect you to break any rules, but let me ask you, in that deal, and this is just a rumor that I heard, and I don't know, was there any type of head and neck restraint or any type of collar or anything on Terry at the time of the wreck?
Corey, I don't even know, to be honest with you. When I arrived there, being in the position I wasn't, we had two guys focused on Terry's care at that point. At that point, my concern was fluids. What do we have on the racing surface? So I transitioned into, based on the damage that occurred to Terry's car, I focused on the fluid cleanup. You start talking, you get water, oil, fuel on the racetrack. That's when, you can have a secondary injury, somebody slipping and falling on the track. So at that point, that's what I was concerned with.
Okay.
I honestly don't know.
I want to, because, and I asked that question because we do know, it's no secret, Terry did suffer a concussion in that accident. Terry is very sore after that accident. And I'm not saying that any type of restraint on your, whether it's a neck collar or a Hans device, is going to prevent a concussion. I mean, we all know about, the secondary motion that happens after a hit inside the head. We've seen that. I mean,
look at what Dale Jr. is going through right now.
Exactly. That initial impact, it stops, but your brain floats in the water, the fluid around it, and if it slams against your skull, that's what causes a concussion. So, do neck restraints prevent that? No. Do they help possibly prevent it? Sure. And
that's one we're going to have to see the research on. You look at the NASCAR circuit, Dale Jr., ever since his father's, passing, they're required to wear a head and neck restraint device.
Right.
And now...
And I agree with that. When you're going 180 plus, I understand that. That's I can see why Hans are mandatory. Now, in any race car, should a driver have head and neck safety of some sort? I'm one of those people that believe, yes, absolutely. You'll get guys like Dale Earnhardt that says, I'm not wearing that. That limits my mobility. That limits my vision. That limits what I can do in a car. I understand that, but we talk about what makes you, what gets you off the racetrack, and safety is a big part of it. It's one of those deals that you've got to be. You can't be too careful.
No, you can't.
You can't be too careful. So, what I'm going to do is I want you to talk about your perspective on that whole deal, what you saw when you arrived, and don't be afraid to talk about. Really, what I want to talk about is the safety of the race car itself, because these cars truly are designed to save the way they're designed. The cockpit is designed to save the driver. In Terry's case, that race car did exactly that, because you were there firsthand. I'm not going to say anything about the car. I didn't see it. I just saw a couple of pictures where you look at it and it's a bent up nose. Okay, you were there. You saw what and wasn't broke. You saw where the car displaced the energy to save the driver. While you're doing that, I'm going to take a couple minutes over here on the computer to get things set up. But I want you to talk about your perspective and what you saw on that race car.
And that's the thing, Corey, is that when I was there on the track, I couldn't really see what was going on. with the car. My first concern was, what we had going on there. I didn't really get an up close personal view of the car until after the races, and I went over and I looked at it. Like a lot of the racers did, we had it in the pits, and we were looking at it, and you could see where the energy was dispersed in the car, where the chassis actually took the brunt of the hit. I wish I could have seen how, the car hit the wall, because that would translate a lot into what I was seeing in the chassis. And being around these chassis, working with Matthew on the modified, I've seen the late model chassis as well come through the shop, and with other people I've helped over the years. And really, we talk about, in Formula One racing, you see they talk about the pod and how everything's supposed to separate from the pod of the driver,
right,
to keep the driver safe. And that's really, without the separation, that's what I saw in this car. That cockpit was intact. The halo was intact. It wasn't a rollover, but still that energy has to go somewhere. And, what I saw after the races was the chassis had absorbed the energy basically from the front of the footbox to the bumper. And that's where the energy went. You're talking about bending 1.5 inch and 3/4 tube, which takes some force.
Sure.
It takes a lot of force. And, it was hard to see. I mean, I don't like seeing bent race cars. I don't like seeing that either.
Well, especially on that caliber.
And you knowing the person that was in it and seeing what damage was there was hard. But at the same time, the race car did its job. That rocket chassis held up, and it really took the energy where it needed to be taken.
Now, I caught the tail end of that wreck. I was watching something happening up towards the front half of the pack. I saw some dust, and it caught my eye. I turned. I saw the car settling on the backstretch. I didn't see Terry hit the wall. Okay, I didn't need to see Terry hit the wall to know that was a bad accident, as damaged as that car was. What I did hear was, and again, I didn't go look at the car, the X in the center was broke. I did hear the left control arm, the upper, was up against the left valve cover. Again, this is what I heard. I know it was a hard hit. I don't know if that's true. What we're going to do is we are going to, we're actually going to talk with Terry and his wife, Carlett. We wanted to talk with them directly on the air because of all the rumors that surrounded that wreck. We heard, I heard that Terry ruptured a disc in his neck. I heard that he broke his neck. All the stuff that flies when, how it is at a racetrack. Somebody says one thing and it gets a little blown up. And I just want to be able to confirm firsthand to squash all those rumors.
And really, it's going to be great, for the fans and for everyone out there to hear Terry's voice.
Right. And that's the biggest thing, is letting everybody know from Terry exactly where he's at, exactly how he feels.
Exactly.
And you and I both know he's okay. We both know Terry very well. He's not done racing. That guy he's made from racing DNA. But we want to talk with him and his wife on the show here, and we'll do that just shortly. And it'll be just good for everybody to understand where he's at and what's going on in his process. Yeah. So if you are listening, Mr. and Mrs. Hall, go ahead and call in at any time. We'd love to have you on the show. I know that you guys are busy and said that you try to call in as soon as you can, but hopefully it'll be here in the next couple minutes. We're also going to try to get Josh Warbus on the phone. He had a couple things he wanted to talk about. We'll see if we can do that. We've got plenty of time left still. But, just that whole thing with Terry really bothers me with any race driver wrecking like that.
Exactly. And, to be honest with you, even with being around racing for 4 years, I've talked to Terry and his wife maybe 2 or 3 times. But even then, seeing what I saw, and, even before, I've been around the racetrack, seen, wrecks before. I mean, with last year with Tomas on it, wrecking a couple times really hard.
So go ahead.
Being there with that, it still pulls at you. And it's hard to see, and it's like we're one big family.
Right.
We really are.
And the thing about it is, if you've ever talked with Terry and his wife, you can't help but like them.
Oh,
They're just
wonderful people.
Great people, always having fun. I've always got giveaways. Very cool deal. So, okay, here's how we're going to do this. Go ahead and talk for a second here.
Okay. It really is a family thing. We start talking, and it's one of those things. You're as a family, you're there. You spend your 6 months out of the year every Saturday with these people. You may not talk to them every day. They're kind of like that one uncle that lives in Alabama that you don't want to talk to, but you end up talking to them. They're great people, and it really is a family. So, anytime something like this happens, you see a chassis get hurt or, a driver, involved in a wreck, even if it's something really small, you want to be there for them. I mean, I can't remember how many times I've sat there, sitting in the pit stands watching the late model feature, and there's one of the guys I know, and you get a flat tire, and you're running down to the hot pit to help him out and help change it out. So it's one of those things, as a family, you're there for each other, and getting Terry on the air here is going to be great for everyone to hear Terry and to see what's going on and to check in with him.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get Terry on the air. We actually have him on the Crocker's Cars call-in line. And we got some questions for you, Terry. Terry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Good. First and foremost, let's talk about how you're feeling.
Yeah. Just bagged up, bruised up and stuff. I've had a headache for a few days, but I think all in all, I'm starting to get on the mend.
Okay, that's good to hear because that was a brutal wreck. And I'll tell you right now, we instantly had a lot of people praying for you. That was a hard wreck. We hate seeing stuff like that. The race car did its job.
Yeah, it did. It was quite an experience the way it happened. The car was actually working really well, and then started around the corner and something gave way and it was over. It went hard over to the right. And it was over. I just headed straight for the wall. I had a little time to think about it too. I was headed for the wall. Usually you don't, and I was thinking this isn't going to be good.
Well, and that's the first thing. I mean, this is one of those situations where you truly you couldn't do anything. I mean, I wanted to talk about. We heard the right rear axle or something in the right rear broke, which turned you up into the wall, and you were coming off the bottom of the racetrack. So you had a lot of racetrack to cross before you hit the wall. Correct?
Yeah, it just went. I felt it just go away, and I didn't have any steering, any control. It just took off, and so we haven't tore it down yet. Probably this weekend we'll tear the car apart and try and figure out what it was.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So from there, you got out of the car. Extreme Fire and Rescue working with you. We heard you felt a little woozy, which is expected. I mean, expected.
Yeah, it racked up my neck there instantly, and I had a little trouble. I had trouble moving my neck there and stuff. So, I tried to. But they talked me into going along there and stuff because I did have a stiff neck and everything. They did a terrific job. The rescue crew were just terrific.
Yeah, they're a great bunch of people, and they really do know what they're doing. We're very blessed to have them at Willamette Speedway week in and week out.
Oh yeah.
Now, let's talk about your wife. I know that this wreck probably concerned her a little bit.
Yeah, she's been through a few others, and she was at the other end. She didn't really see it. I was glad she didn't see it hit. She knew when I didn't come around the corner that something happened. She did see the car dart up the track, though.
Yeah, I see. I didn't even.
He's going to exit. If he's going to exit, he's exiting really fast.
Well, that's not funny, but I mean, to hear you say it, yeah, it is a little funny. But first and foremost, we're just glad that you're all right. That you weren't severely injured or hospitalized. I know you did go to the hospital precautionary for they tested you for concussion and what other tests were run. I know they tested your neck and stuff, right?
Yeah, they did see. Yeah, to see if the thing broke, and I guess I don't think. Yeah, there was thorough at the hospital and everything there, and it was had good care there too.
Yeah.
And there was really a lot of support from the people at the track too. I mean, a lot of them showed up there and everything. I was surprised. It was really neat.
Well, and
really
I think that's just kind of a testament to what you mean to people at the track. You know, you've got a great racing family out there in every class, and you know, you've got a lot of friendships, and I think that says a lot